Most men ask the wrong question about loyalty. They ask how to prevent cheating, how to compete with other men, how to become good enough that she won't look elsewhere. But loyalty is not built through fear, surveillance, or constant reassurance. If a woman stays only because she feels monitored or guilty, that is not loyalty. It is containment. And containment fails the moment opportunity outweighs consequence. Real loyalty is voluntary. It is the quiet decision to protect the relationship even when no one is watching, when alternatives exist, and when emotions fluctuate. It does not come from perfection or from controlling behavior. It comes from a specific emotional environment, one that makes leaving feel like a loss rather than an escape. Many men assume that providing material comfort, attention, or stability guarantees commitment. These factors matter, but they do not create deep attachment on their own. Someone can appreciate security and still feel emotionally unfulfilled. When fulfillment is missing, loyalty becomes fragile because the relationship feels like an obligation rather than a choice. Others believe intensity is the answer. Grand gestures, constant passion, dramatic declarations. Intensity can create bonding initially, but it often fades or becomes exhausting. When the emotional highs disappear, the underlying structure of the relationship determines whether connection remains. Stoicism approaches loyalty from a different angle. It emphasizes self-command, mutual respect, and emotional steadiness, rather than performance or control. A Stoic man does not attempt to force devotion. He cultivates conditions where devotion arises naturally, because the relationship feels grounding, meaningful, and irreplaceable. Women often remain loyal not to the most dominant or the most accommodating partner, but to the one who consistently makes them feel secure without suffocation, valued without pedestalizing, and emotionally safe without losing excitement. This balance is rare, which is why loyalty is rare. Importantly, loyalty is not static. It evolves. Stress, boredom, resentment, neglect, and unmet needs can erode it gradually if left unaddressed. Conversely, trust, admiration, shared purpose, and emotional intimacy can deepen it over time. The process is dynamic, not fixed at the beginning. In this video, you will discover the core forces that sustain loyalty long after the honeymoon phase fades. The traits and behaviors that transform commitment from a fragile promise into a resilient bond. Because the truth is simple. People stay where they feel understood, they remain loyal where they feel respected, and they protect what feels difficult to replace. Let's begin with the first pillar of loyalty, the one that determines whether she feels safe being fully herself with you. Before we start, a quick reminder. The real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood, a private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits. Just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in. Section number 1, emotional safety, the foundation of true loyalty. Loyalty begins long before temptation ever appears. It forms in the daily emotional climate of the relationship, in how safe a woman feels to express herself without fear of humiliation, punishment, or withdrawal of affection. Emotional safety does not mean absence of conflict. It means that conflict does not threaten connection itself. When a woman feels that honesty will trigger anger, dismissal, or cold distance, she starts filtering her thoughts. Small frustrations remain unspoken. Needs are minimized. Vulnerabilities are hidden. Over time, this creates emotional separation. Even while physical proximity remains, the relationship becomes polite rather than intimate. A Stoic man approaches emotion differently. He does not treat feelings as attacks or inconveniences to be managed. He listens without immediately defending, correcting, or escalating. Even when he disagrees, his tone remains measured. This steadiness communicates that the relationship can withstand uncomfortable truths. Importantly, emotional safety does not eliminate accountability. If her behavior is unfair or harmful, he addresses it calmly rather than tolerating it silently. Boundaries delivered without hostility preserve respect while maintaining stability. She learns that honesty leads to resolution, not retaliation. This environment encourages transparency. When she is upset, she speaks rather than withdrawing. When she feels insecure, she seeks reassurance rather than validation elsewhere. When external challenges arise, she turns toward the relationship instead of away from it. Loyalty strengthens because the relationship becomes the safest place to process life. Another aspect of emotional safety is predictability of reaction. Sudden mood swings, sarcasm during arguments, or weaponizing past mistakes create uncertainty. She cannot anticipate whether a conversation will lead to understanding or conflict, so she may avoid difficult topics entirely. Avoidance, however, prevents repair and allows resentment to accumulate quietly. Consistency reduces this risk. If she knows that disagreements will remain respectful and temporary, she can engage openly without fear of permanent damage. Trust deepens because the relationship demonstrates resilience repeatedly. Emotional safety also fosters authenticity. She does not need to perform perfection or suppress individuality to maintain harmony. Quirks, fears, ambitions, and imperfections can exist without threatening acceptance. This freedom strengthens attachment because she associates the relationship with relief rather than pressure. Many men mistakenly believe that emotional distance maintains authority. In reality, excessive detachment often signals disinterest rather than strength. True strength is the capacity to remain composed while engaging deeply. It shows that closeness does not compromise self-control. Ultimately, emotional safety transforms loyalty from obligation into preference. She does not stay because she feels trapped. She stays because leaving would mean losing the one place where she can be fully understood without judgment. Temptation loses power when the alternative lacks comparable depth. Loyalty is not secured by controlling options. It is secured by becoming the environment she does not want to lose, calm, respectful, and strong enough to, and strong. Hold both connection and individuality at the same time. Section number 2, respect, the loyalty multiplier. Love may ignite a relationship, but respect determines whether it endures. Without respect, affection becomes unstable, easily replaced by resentment or indifference. With respect, even difficult periods can be navigated without eroding the core bond. For many women, loyalty is closely tied not just to how loved they feel, but to how much they admire the man they are with. Respect grows from consistent behavior, not from occasional gestures. A man who keeps his word, manages his responsibilities, and maintains composure under pressure signals reliability. He does not promise what he cannot deliver, and he does not collapse when circumstances become challenging. This steadiness builds admiration because it demonstrates competence and integrity simultaneously. Importantly, respect also requires self-respect. If a man tolerates chronic disrespect, abandons his values to avoid conflict, or becomes overly accommodating out of fear of losing her, admiration often diminishes. Loyalty weakens because the relationship begins to feel unbalanced. She may care for him, but the sense of strength that initially attracted her fades. A Stoic approach emphasizes boundaries delivered calmly. He does not raise his voice or issue threats, but he also does not negotiate his dignity. If something crosses a line, he addresses it directly and proportionately. This communicates that the relationship operates within a framework of mutual consideration rather than unilateral concession. Respect is also influenced by how he handles disagreement. If arguments devolve into insults or emotional chaos, admiration erodes quickly. When he remains focused on resolution rather than victory, conflict becomes constructive instead of destructive. She learns that even tension will not degrade the relationship into hostility. Another dimension of respect is purpose. A man who is engaged with meaningful goals beyond the relationship signals independence and direction. He is not relying on her to define his identity or fill all emotional space. This autonomy reduces pressure while increasing perceived value because she sees that his life has momentum with or without constant validation. Consistency is critical here. Grand declarations of commitment mean little if daily actions contradict them. Showing up on time, following through on plans, managing finances responsibly, and maintaining physical and emotional health all contribute to a baseline of trust. These behaviors may appear mundane, but they form the infrastructure of respect. Respect also flows both ways. When she feels respected, her opinions heard, her efforts acknowledged, her autonomy honored, she is more inclined to reciprocate. Mutual respect creates a reinforcing loop that stabilizes loyalty over time. Neither partner feels diminished, so neither seeks validation through external comparison. Many relationships deteriorate not because love disappears, but because respect quietly erodes through repeated disappointments or unresolved conflicts. Once admiration fades, emotional investment often follows. Rebuilding it requires consistent demonstration of integrity rather than temporary displays of effort. Ultimately, respect transforms loyalty into a conscious choice. She does not remain merely because of habit or comfort, but because she values the man himself, his character, his discipline, his steadiness. Losing him would mean losing someone she genuinely esteems, not just someone familiar. Section number 3, emotional connection. Feeling seen and understood. Respect creates stability, but emotional connection creates depth. A woman may admire a man and still feel distant if she does not experience genuine understanding. Loyalty strengthens when she feels not only valued, but truly seen. When her inner world is acknowledged rather than assumed. Being seen goes beyond remembering favorite foods or important dates. It involves recognizing patterns in her emotions, understanding what stresses her, what excites her, and what fears she rarely articulates. When a man listens carefully and responds thoughtfully, he signals that her internal experience matters. Many men mistake problem solving for connection. If she expresses frustration, they immediately offer solutions. While practical help can be valuable, emotional validation often precedes it. Sometimes she does not want a fix. She wants recognition that her feelings are legitimate. When he pauses to understand before responding, intimacy grows. A Stoic man does not dismiss emotion as irrational. He approaches it with curiosity rather than impatience. Even if he cannot fully relate, he seeks clarity instead of minimizing. This attitude reduces defensiveness and fosters openness. She becomes more willing to share because she trusts that her vulnerability will not be mocked or ignored. Emotional connection also thrives on presence. In a world filled with distractions, undivided attention becomes rare. When he puts away devices, maintains eye contact, and responds with intention, she experiences focus that feels meaningful. Attention becomes a form of affirmation. Consistency deepens this bond. One intense conversation cannot compensate for months of emotional neglect. Small, regular check-ins, asking about her day, acknowledging her efforts, noticing subtle shifts in mood, reinforce the message that she is not invisible within the relationship. Another key factor is shared experiences. Loyalty strengthens when memories accumulate that feel unique to the relationship. Shared challenges, private humor, and meaningful milestones create a narrative that feels distinct. Leaving would mean abandoning not just a person, but a story they built together. Importantly, emotional connection must be mutual. If only one partner feels understood, imbalance grows. A man who also expresses his thoughts, aspirations, and concerns invites reciprocity. Vulnerability, when balanced with strength, enhances loyalty because it signals trust. Emotional disconnection, by contrast, often precedes infidelity or detachment. When she feels chronically misunderstood or unheard, she may seek validation elsewhere, not necessarily because she intends betrayal, but because connection feels scarce at home. Addressing this early prevents erosion of commitment. Ultimately, loyalty flourishes where emotional intimacy exists. when she feels understood without constant explanation, valued without performance, and connected beyond surface interaction, alternatives lose appeal. The relationship becomes not just comfortable, but meaningful. People rarely abandon environments where they feel deeply known. When emotional connection is strong, loyalty becomes less about obligation and more about preservation, protecting something that feels rare and authentic. Section number 4, shared vision. Loyalty grows where direction is clear. Attraction may begin with chemistry. Respect may stabilize it. Emotional connection may deepen it. But loyalty often solidifies when two people see themselves moving in the same direction. When a relationship lacks shared vision, it drifts. Drift creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates doubt, and doubt quietly weakens commitment over time. A woman who cannot picture a meaningful future with a man may remain emotionally present for a while, but her investment becomes conditional. She is staying in the moment, not building towards something. A shared vision changes that dynamic completely. It does not require rigid planning or identical ambitions. It requires alignment in core values, lifestyle preferences, family orientation, financial philosophy, personal growth priorities, and long-term expectations. When these foundations align, the relationship feels purposeful rather than temporary. High loyalty forms when she sees a future where her life expands, not contracts. If she believes being with you will limit her growth, silence her individuality, or create instability, attachment weakens. If she sees that partnership enhances her direction, provides security, and supports shared goals, commitment deepens naturally. A Stoic man communicates vision without pressure. He does not force timelines or demand promises prematurely. Instead, he demonstrates through consistency what kind of life he is building. His habits, discipline, and values reveal trajectory. She evaluates not just who he is today, but who he is becoming. Clarity is crucial here. Ambiguity about commitment can erode loyalty, even when feelings remain strong. If she senses hesitation about exclusivity, future plans, or shared priorities, emotional safety declines. Conversely, when a man speaks clearly about intentions and backs them with action, uncertainty decreases. Shared vision also reduces temptation. When she feels integrated into a long-term narrative, short-term distractions lose significance. Alternatives appear less appealing because they lack continuity. She is not simply dating, she is building. Importantly, vision must be reciprocal. If only one partner imagines a future while the other avoids discussion, imbalance grows. Mutual participation in planning, even in small ways, strengthens commitment. Conversations about goals, travel, living arrangements, or career moves create psychological investment in us rather than me. Another dimension is shared values under stress. Life inevitably presents challenges. If your responses to adversity align, discipline instead of panic, communication instead of avoidance, she sees durability. Durability reinforces loyalty because it signals that the relationship can survive fluctuations. Without shared direction, even intense chemistry fades into confusion. With it, even calm. Relationships gain depth and resilience. Loyalty thrives when leaving would mean abandoning a shared roadmap, not just a person. Ultimately, a woman stays loyal where she sees progress, not perfection, not fantasy. Progress toward a meaningful future. When she feels that walking beside you leads somewhere stable and fulfilling, commitment becomes rational as well as emotional. And when loyalty aligns with both heart and horizon, it becomes far harder to break. Section number 5, balanced attraction. Why desire still matters. Loyalty is not sustained by comfort alone. A relationship can be safe, respectful, and emotionally connected, yet still fragile if attraction quietly fades. Desire is not superficial. It is the energy that keeps the bond alive, rather than merely functional. When passion disappears completely, commitment can start to feel like duty instead of choice. Balanced attraction means maintaining both emotional closeness and romantic tension. A Stoic man understands that attraction thrives on polarity, a mix of familiarity and mystery, stability and independence, warmth, and strength. If he becomes entirely predictable, overly accommodating, or emotionally dependent, the dynamic flattens. She may still care deeply, but the spark that differentiates a partner from a friend weakens. Independence plays a key role here. When a man maintains interests, friendships, and goals outside the relationship, he preserves a sense of individuality. She experiences him as a whole person, not an extension of herself. This autonomy sustains intrigue because there is always something about him that exists beyond her immediate influence. Physical presence matters as well. Self-care, posture, energy levels, and attentiveness all contribute to how attraction is perceived. A man who neglects his health or appearance signals stagnation, which can subtly erode desire. Conversely, consistent vitality communicates discipline and self-respect, qualities that often enhance romantic appeal. Playfulness is another component. Relationships that become purely serious or logistical lose emotional texture. Humor, teasing, spontaneity, and shared novelty reintroduce excitement without destabilizing the bond. These moments remind both partners why they chose each other initially. Importantly, balanced attraction avoids extremes. Excessive jealousy, possessiveness, or attempts to manufacture scarcity can create anxiety rather than desire. On the other hand, total passivity signals lack of interest. The goal is a steady current of romantic energy, enough to feel alive, not enough to feel exhausting. Communication of appreciation also matters. Feeling desired reinforces loyalty because it reassures her that the connection is still unique. Compliments delivered sincerely and specifically carry more weight than generic flattery. They affirm that she is not just valued as a partner, but wanted as a woman. Routine can gradually dull attraction if left unchecked. Introducing small variations, new activities, environments, or experiences prevents stagnation. Novelty stimulates emotional engagement without requiring dramatic change. Shared exploration keeps the relationship dynamic. Ultimately, desire acts as emotional glue. Respect may hold the structure together, and shared vision may provide direction, but attraction supplies momentum. When she feels both secure and excited, alternatives lose appeal because they would sacrifice one dimension or the other. Loyalty flourishes where safety and desire coexist. Too much comfort without passion leads to complacency. Too much intensity without stability leads to burnout. The balance between the two creates a relationship that feels both grounding and alive. A place she wants to protect rather than escape. Section number 6, trust built through consistency. Why reliability creates devotion. Grand gestures are memorable, but consistency is what builds trust. Loyalty rarely hinges on a single, dramatic act of love. It forms through thousands of small moments that confirm one simple belief. You are dependable. When a man's behavior is predictable in a healthy way, uncertainty decreases. She does not wonder whether affection will disappear overnight, whether promises will be broken, or whether moods will dictate treatment. This stability allows her nervous system to relax, shifting energy from vigilance to connection. Consistency shows up in ordinary habits. You say you will call and you do. You make plans and you keep them. You express care and your actions reinforce it. None of these moments seem extraordinary alone, but together they create a pattern. Over time, that pattern becomes evidence of character rather than coincidence. She begins to trust not just what you say, but who you are. Importantly, reliability also applies during difficult periods. Anyone can be attentive when everything is going well. Loyalty deepens when support remains. Steady during stress, illness, setbacks, or conflict. If your presence does not vanish when life becomes inconvenient, she associates you with security rather than conditional availability. In short, loyalty is not a switch you flip. It is a pattern you build. It does not emerge from control, fear, jealousy, or constant monitoring. It grows quietly through emotional safety, mutual respect, genuine connection, shared direction, balanced attraction, and consistent reliability. Remove one pillar and the structure weakens. Strengthen them together, and commitment becomes resilient. Many men try to secure loyalty by limiting options. They focus on surveillance instead of substance, rules instead of relationship. But you cannot force devotion. You can only create conditions where leaving feels like losing something meaningful. A woman stays loyal when she feels emotionally safe enough to be honest, respected enough to admire you, connected enough to feel understood, aligned enough to see a future, attracted enough to stay excited, and secure enough to trust your consistency. When these elements coexist, alternatives lose their appeal, not because they are unavailable, but because they are inferior. Stoicism teaches something powerful here. Control yourself, not others. You cannot govern her thoughts or guarantee her choices. You can only govern your behavior. When you embody steadiness, integrity, discipline, and warmth without neediness, you create an environment that encourages loyalty organically. Importantly, loyalty must be mutual. It is not a one-sided contract. When both partners feel secure, valued, and respected, commitment strengthens naturally. If only one invests in maintaining the emotional climate, imbalance develops and stability erodes. Another truth often overlooked is that loyalty is dynamic. It requires maintenance. Even strong foundations need reinforcement through attention, communication, and shared growth. Complacency weakens connection just as surely as conflict does. Continuing to invest intentionally keeps attachment alive rather than automatic. Ultimately, loyalty is less about preventing betrayal and more about building preference. She remains not because she must, but because she wants to. She protects the relationship because it enriches her life rather than restricts it. The strongest relationships are not guarded by fear. They are protected by value. And value is created through daily discipline, emotional maturity, and consistent character. In the end, loyalty is not about making her afraid to lose you. It is about becoming someone she genuinely does not want to lose. Remember, knowledge means nothing without action. If you're ready to rise above emotion and lead with purpose, join the community today at the link below. Enroll once, grow forever.